And we're live.
Hello and welcome everyone to the inaugural episode of the Warhammer Meta Chasers. My name is Paul Murphy, your host. I'm joined by Adam Camilleri.
Brand new show. Never seen any of this before. You might think you have, but nah, never heard of you.
And Dustin Hinshaw.
It's completely new. You've never seen it. Don't tell us anything differently. Look at Adam. Look at the shot is completely different now.
Yeah, it's
On
completely different.
this
No bricks in the back.
wonderful Thursday. You can join us live every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, give or take a couple of minutes, where we're going to run down the biggest and best meta coming up over the weekend. There is a storm a brewing. Now, look, we know that there's some big changes coming to the Warhammer universe, pretty soon. Well, we don't know when exactly, but we're going to be following you on the bleeding edge all the way until that changes, and looking out for that explosive change when it does happen. Join us along the way. Hope you do. Consider subscribing. Consider liking. I think we're just on YouTube right now. You got to hit the bell. We're going to be in podcast aggregators soon after that, all over the place. But if you're listening to us after the fact, no, we do it live. We got a great chat community. Folks are already piling in the chat. Thank you for finding us. Absolutely awesome. Really appreciate it. I'm ready to jump right into it.
Yeah, let's do this. Thanks everybody for joining us on this debut one. I love seeing this many people here already. So we do have some love. I love it.
And boys, we've got a decent week to kick us off. We have 3 100-player events, one in lovely Ballarat, Victoria, Australia, my second love, my second hometown, I guess you could call it. And also we've got 2 American Slobberknockers, one of them being the Battle for Salvation Teams event, and the other one being the Mayhem GT, both with 100-plus players. It's a great week to kick off chasing some Warhammer meta.
If you are not familiar with the format, we run down 2 or 3 events coming up over the weekend. We also give you some shout outs to some honorable mentions to some events. We go down the list of factions you're going to see there. We call out some notable players. Sometimes we call out some meme list, some people that are either challenging the meta or just going and playing and having a great time. And talk about how they're going to stack up of what we think about what's been happening. A little bit of context of what led us here. Then we look a little bit of forward thinking. You know, you guys are out there being the meta. Sometimes we tell you what it is. Sometimes we give some thoughts on how to beat it. But we're going to notice all those trends, and we're going to talk about it. Again, we do it live. We're also going to put it up after the fact for your listening pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us. The first event we're going to be talking about, that is the one in Australia. It's the Radicalism from Ballarat, Victoria. 95 players, 6th round event. This is part of the show where Dustin, tell us what we're going to see there.
I do tell us what this is going to see here. The Radicalism 95 player event with 6 rounds there. The Imperial Super Faction. There are 5 Custodes, 1 AdMech, 14 Astra Militarum, 1 Grey Knight, and 6 Imperial Knights. Space Marines, there's 1 Dark Angel, 3 Space Wolves, 3 Blood Angels, 1 Ultramarine, 1 White Scar, 1 Imperial Fist, 3 Iron Hands, and 2 Death Watch. Chaos, there's 5 Chaos Space Marines, 3 T-Suns, 2 Death Guard, 4 World Eaters, 7 Demons, 2 Renegade Knights. Xenos, there's 4 Necrons, 5 Orcs, 5 Tau, and 2 Votan. In the Hive Mind, there's 3 Tyranids and 1 Genestealer cult. What are you guys thinking?
Money.
GSC are broken right now. Why
Australia.
are you not using them?
It's Australia. Leave us alone. It's expensive.
What's going on? Eldari, there's 1 Harlequin, 8 Assyriani. Oh my god. That means the faction podium is Astra Militarum topping it off with 14, Assyriani in 2nd with 8, and Demons in 3rd with 7.
Now, look, it's been a couple of weeks since we've done this. We have not looked at the meta with this granularity for a couple of weeks. Now, with the Australian curve being on it, we'll let you talk about that here in just a minute, Adam. But Assyriani have crept up there. Demons and Astra Militarum still about where we might expect them to be.
Yeah, exactly right. I think Astra Militarum has extended their little cliff on others in lieu of our notes in the last couple of weeks. But apart from that, yeah, Assyriani is the new contender entering the stage from left. They have kind of set into 2-man archetypes, both of which usually contain Harlequins. And then it's either Hail of Doom or it's Ulthwé, depending on whether you want the better killing game with Hail of Doom or the better secondary game with Ulthwé. I personally prefer the Ulthwé myself. But yeah, it's really exciting to see them re-emerge as a contender at the moment, because they do have all the tools, but it's on the burden that, unlike Astra Militarum, where essentially if I can see you, you will die. The burden is on the Assyriani player to get the most out of their army.
Yeah, to play the secondary game with some psychic. I actually really like the Ulthwé. Now, are they using like some D cannons because they're counted as the Guardians to get the bonus there too? Like, there's some extra spice in there that does have some extra killing power that won't be as effective in other craft worlds. But I personally, I'm actually a fan of the Ulthwé too. I love Eldrad. I love Eldrad.
I rate him very highly as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got all the tricks, and I don't want to call the D cannon an unassuming weapon, but you look at it, it's like it's got high strength, but it's only got mid range. It's kind of
Yeah.
like the Aldari Demolisher cannon,
Yep.
and that seems to kind of come in and out of fashion. But the D cannon's been a mainstay for now 6, 8, 9 months.
You're not wrong, mate. And especially as soon as Armor of Contempt went away, it started to pop up again. And now with, I think, its biggest issue, that being the Deathwing is gone as well. It's literally,
That's true.
did it wound? You're probably dead unless you got an invuln. It's legitimately a very, very powerful platform still. Jumping down, let's have a look at some of these top players in attendance. The first of which is Mr. Matt Morosoli, a good mate of mine. Got top 8 at LVO this year, WTC World Champion for Team Australia. He's playing his demons. They are undivided. He's got troops as his Arcs of Omen detachment. He's got a Bloodthirster, Faith Skimmer, and Transweaver, plus Scarbrand. So this is his usual 4-pack that I've seen him take in a lot of different configurations. Sometimes he has the big chicken, that being the Lord of Change. Other times he doesn't. Then he's got 3x10 Demonettes, 3 Nurglings, 10 Pink Horrors, 5 Fiends, 2x3 Flamers, and 2x5 Fleshhounds. Now, the Fleshhounds is an interesting one because I know they're a little bit cheaper than the Fiends, but I think the Fiends are fundamentally just better. But going for the 15 Fleshhounds, I wonder if there's something in particular he's targeting with that.
Packs and denies. I mean, they can go off and be basically it counts as Psyker somewhere else on the table. And I know I said Psyker and Khorne Fleshhounds in the same sentence, but they're a little bit of psychic defense, which typically only come from Psykers of the type.
And we were just talking about how many Suriani are there, probably some Oathway, so maybe he knows his own meta. I don't know. Like he seems to know what he's doing.
He does. This is why I also really love the addition to the Pink Horrors. You look at all that Asuriani, all that high DACA Asuriani, and 14 guard players. And then if you want, you can just bunker up behind those horrors and play a very stable game, should you wish. So I'm a big fan of this list. I think it's quite good. I would love to ask him, like, what's the why the Fleshhounds over more Fiends or Seekers, which I've seen him take in the past also. But maybe he's just doing it because he's bored,
to be that
some new stuff.
Maybe so. This is a slightly different configuration than what we've seen from him in the past.
But I think it's all still good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think you can go. I don't think you can particularly go wrong with the. Remember when we talk about Tyranids, we had the medium bug effect, where you just had for point a multi-wound non-HQ model. Point for point was actually which is better than a single wound model in a lot of cases. I think demons have a similar thing going on, although their troops are quite strong. You can't really go wrong with your multi-wound medium demon, with the exception of the Blood Crushers. They can get right out of you. They suck. They suck so bad. But hell, beasts and even plague drones both aren't horrible choices.
So
I think
most medium demons.
Yeah, except for one.
Except for one.
The other two you can still see, but there are betters. But yeah. I think it's good. All right, next one, Lockie Betts of the Risky Rollers. He's playing Astra Militarum, which is Armored Superiority and Swift as the Wind instead of Born Soldiers. He's got Fast Attacks as his Arcs of Omen detachment. He's got Lord Solar, a Death Corps Marshal, because he's 35 points.
Cheap. 35 points.
A Tank Commander who has a Battle Cannon and, I believe, Gatekeeper as well. 2x10 Acadian troops. 3x3 Armored Sentinels, 3x3 Scout Sentinels, 2 Lehman Russ Plasmacutioners, and a Rogel freaking Dawn. That is 18 Sentinels, 3 Lehman Russes, and a Dawn, boys.
So I heard you like Sentinels.
Yo, dog, I heard you like Sentinels, and you got where? You got
the
more
Sentinels,
money than sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of those units that, again, also comes in and out of fashion. We start to see them on the uptrend from a few weeks ago. What do you think has got that many and that volume in this list?
Dude, they're absolutely incredible for the points. They might at the moment, now that the Deathwing Terminator has been knocked off, they might be the new best unit for the points. The most undercosted unit for what they provide in the game at the moment.
That's a tall order.
It'd be them, Jackals, and I don't know, the Death Jester. Like trying to think of things that compare point for point for how much they provide for you.
A lot of the Marines, just because of the amount of the equipment they can put on there, there's some there that'll compete with it, I think. But you're right. Like in terms of point for point cost benefit, they're top 3 at the very least.
What abilities do you think are making it so efficient?
So they are the perfect amount of wounds, as in they are over 6. They are 7 wounds exactly, which is a ginormous breakpoint in the D3 plus 3 D6 damage metas, meaning you need so many more increments to kill one than you would anything less than that wounds.
Because they've got an okay armor save, they can
Yep.
Get benefits from things on the table.
They're high toughness, 4 up or 3 up armor save. They can scout move. They can shoot and then move and then charge, which I think is a big issue that they need to. They should. I thought they should have FAQ'd that. You can't charge off the essentially the fire and fade, but you can. They are not terrible in combat. You will be surprised. But the thing is, the kicker to them is that they are both core, platoon, and a squadron. So you can put every single buff and every single order upon that platform. So they essentially have a near limitless playbook.
They're obsec there too with armored superiority.
They are obsec in this configuration, and exactly right. So turn 1, he's going to throw 9 scout sentinels at you. That mostly, if you are on the line, they will charge you turn 1. Should you be on the line, so you have to be back. And even then, 1, possibly even 2 might charge. Depending.
And stuff.
Well, yeah. So they have 3 attacks each, strength 6, AP 2, going to AP 3 with an order, 2 damage. And then they can have 4 rolls to hit, rolls to wound, or roll 1s, whatever. So they can actually kill Marines quite well. So, yeah. And then when you factor in, they're all packing a plasma cannon as well. Really, really efficient. Just to point out something. If Lockie, our good mate Lockie, has bought all those Sentinels at retail, just the Sentinel portion of his army is $1,386.
Well, so the Sentinels have largely been the same for decades.
True.
So it's very possible that one could, like, if I've also been a lucky guard player where I've just happened to, I already had 9 Chimeras.
But yeah, even then you still had to change the bases on all 18 of them.
Yeah. I'm going to have to do that at some point as well. I have 12 Sentinels, 9 armored, 3 scout, and I'm going to have to change the base sizes in all of mine because I end up buying 12.
Just a hobby.
Sentinels.
It's a hobby opportunity. That's a hobby part. I do like this.
That's a great way to look at it, Paul.
We have not seen Dorns in that many lists. Dorn is one of those things that made an impression because it's a brand new tank. It looks amazing. It doesn't have a bottom. People that seem to really irritate some folks, but you don't see it. But anyway, it hit the headlines really hard, but we haven't seen that many of them creep into lists.
No.
I think this might be like a points configuration.
The Dorns are good. The thing is, it's hard to justify bringing just one of them a lot of the time because if it's in a matchup that you're just going to be valuable, your opponent will target it to get rid of it, and they're too expensive to really spam as well because one Dorn is almost the same as 2 Russes, and the rest.
Maybe that's it. He's got the pressure. He takes the pressure off the Dorn from all the Sentinels that are making a mass up there. Lord Solar is in the Sergeant are just passing out stuff all over the place. We're going to watch this list and see how it does.
Oh, for sure.
What's next?
All right, last one for this is Augustus Hebblewhite. Yes, that is a name that 2 Australian parents decided to give their child.
That is incredible.
We call him Gus, naturally.
That makes sense.
Because ain't nobody got time for that, Gus. You sort that out.
Do you call him White Gus?
He's no.
Okay.
He's playing Asuriani. He's playing Ulthway specifically. No Harlequins in this one. He's got fast attackers, his Arcs of Omen detachment. He's got Baharoth, Eldrad, a Farseer Skyrunner, and Karandris.
Love Karandris.
A unit of 5 striking Scorpions, 10 Wraith Guard,
Whoa.
10 2x3 Shroud Runners, a 3 and a single Warlock Skyrunner, 10 Swooping Hawks, and then 3/3/5 Wind.
How are the Wraith Guard equipped? Do you know?
Wraith Guard cannons, so D cannons.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. Wow. Yeah, that's what I thought as well.
Yeah.
That's why why I'm putting his list here because I looked at it, I'm like, nice.
Yep, nice.
That is a lot of characters though. That's my only concern is the list is how much he spent on characters. Baharoth's not cheap. Karandris, Eldrad, Farseer, and then essentially 4 Warlocks. That's a lot of his army.
It.
But
he's
I love
put a bunch of eggs in one basket that happen to all be T6 can fall back and shoot stuff.
Exactly right.
There's all kind of stuff going on with this list.
The other thing that's cool about it is that when you take away with the exception of the Wraith Guard, everything is quick. Everything is on a bike or a Swooping Hawk, apart from the Wraith Guard. And so it's the Wraith Guard and the characters, and then everything else moves a bajillion inches, which I'm actually a big fan of. I think that is secretly a really good underpinning of this list.
So the Wraith Guard are quick at picking up your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're quick at something because they're not quick at walking.
You could
Well, I
double
mean,
move them, I guess.
and
Well,
with the
yeah,
option of also coming in deep strike, basically, coming in from reserves. There's
Mm,
true. But that's a lot. That's like a quarter of your army in reserves.
yeah, man.
Like one
no
Well,
guts,
squad.
no glory. This player's playing with guts.
Well, see, I guess this is my criticism of it. And I've
It's
said my criticism of it
Augustus.
of any real.
It's Augustus.
uh,
Yeah.
it's my criticism of any real like pseudo Death Star list is that when you factor in the cost of the Wraith Guard and then the characters that are chained to sitting behind the Wraith Guard, if that comes to anywhere near half your points, it's the wrong meta. Like genuinely, it's the wrong meta at the moment. But this could be taken for a myriad of different reasons. And like I said, I actually still really like and rate this list. I think it's quietly very good.
No, I like it.
You think a lot of players are banking on the fact there will be fewer Terminators and everything on the table will be picked up by that Nick 4 AP,
Hmm. Yep.
situation.
Yep. I believe so. I believe that to be the case. I think the amount of invulnerable saves that you could expect to see at any table that you rocked up to just went down by like 40%
Well,
because of Deathwing.
so I want to talk a little bit about, I'm going to play into our meta chaser's name here for a minute. Is that you kind of you can build a list in a couple different philosophies. You can build your list. I want to take all comers no matter what. You can build your list to where I want to use my skill to get through the early rounds of the game and my list to help carry me through the later rounds. What I'm going to expect to see at that top end. Do you think players are really ready for what may be now shaken up at that top end that used to be dominated by probably a couple of Dark Angel players?
Well, I think right now the can's been opened, so people are trying to see what they can eat. Wraithguard
Yeah,
might be
that's
one of the things that can get a really good meal out of this because without permanent transhuman running all over the board, let's face it, like those Deathwing were everywhere.
Yeah, we're.
And you have all the speed and good firepower with the rest of your army. You still have good psychic. Like that one unit just could be it could be his answer instead of D cannons, like the actual artillery. Like, no, I'm going to run at you with my D cannons.
If
Yeah.
truly second list, second tier is wide open, and the only
Yeah.
thing still at the top is Astra Militarum, a lot of string 10 weapons solve some of those problems.
Yep.
Mm.
Go
So
T9
yeah,
Dorn.
totally
I don't
agree.
care.
yeah,
Well, that's
let's
exactly right. That is one of the reasons that this unit shines because there is a lot of armor to crack.
this is again part of the show where typically we've run through all the factions, we picked out a few lists. Now we get to call a winner. We can either call the player we think is going to win this thing, or we can call the faction that are going to win this thing. We don't often look back at that. We actually maybe like partner with some folks to help us look back over the weekend to see if we were right. But I'll tell you, we've never had to look back because we're always right.
That's right. I mean, picking against Matt Morrisoli is always going to be a bad call, but I am instead going to be picking Stu Trainer and his Gene Stealer cult to win this.
The one
Aw.
GC. Oh, okay.
Trying to pander to the mogul, Dustin Henshaw.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I'll let you take that, and I won't pick it as well because that's definitely
Thanks,
what I'm
mate.
gonna pick. See, for me, so many Astra Militarum. It's just so many Astra Militarum. I mean, like you said,
it's a lot.
it's hard to go against
14% of the field.
Yeah, that really is. But you know what?
15% actually.
That's a lot of people. I am actually gonna go. Not necessarily more solid, but probably more solid. But I am gonna go demons because I actually like them in this meta right now.
Same.
awesome.
I'm going to go demons because I think demons are one of those lists that has all the tools, and especially when you're in Australia, those models have been largely the same for a long time. So that if anybody wanted to build a demon list, they have access or know somebody that does. They can do a little borrow hammer to try to win these few tournaments coming up. So I'm going demons. I think demons is a codex that really does have a lot of answers out there right now, and doesn't care so much about the high strength of some of the weapons and can close
cares
and do some
nothing about
tricks.
the AP.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah. Going demons.
So you both
next
pick
list.
demons? Nice.
Yeah. Next list we're going to be talking about, our next event we're going to be talking about is the Battle for Salvation. This is a team event in West Nyack, New York, in the United States. Thanks. We have notes here. That lets me know that is actually in the United States. New York, Old York. I think they just call that York. Is it a totally different place?
I love that only when so everyone gets I point out where everything is, right? And it's your fault, America, that I have to do this. And only the Americans complain about me doing this when it is their fault that I have to do this.
We appreciate you 100%.
I mean,
120 players, 24 teams of five rounds. In team events like this, you can only utilize a faction one time on a team. So out of 24 teams, the most of any faction you'll see is 24. Now, spoiler, we don't have anybody that's got 24 of a faction on a team, but I think this would
Correct.
be pretty interesting
Do
to
we
see how
have
close we
half again?
come to that. And so, Dustin, would you mind telling us what we're going to see there?
Yeah, for sure. Because again, we've done these team events before, and we still haven't broken halfway on any like 50% representation of any faction, have we? I don't think we have.
There's been a couple times Custodes,
Have we?
and yeah, we have we have
It's been pretty.
sometime in the
It's been
last
close to
2
50%.
years.
We've never 100% ever.
Oh no, never been 100 yet. Never been 100.
All right, let's see what we got here. The Imperial Superfaction, there are 7 Custodes, 1 AdMech everywhere, 12 Astra Militarum, that's not surprising, 2 Grey Knights, 3 Imperial Knights, Space Marines, there's 3 Dark Angels still, 2 Space Wolves, 1 Blood Angel, 1 Ultramarine, 3 Black Templar, and 6 Iron Hands. There's the pivot you wanted to see.
Yep.
Chaos, there's 6 Chaos Space Marines, 2 T-Suns, 2 Death Guard, 10 World Eaters. They are great in teams. 9 Demons, same thing. 7 Renegade Knights, overrepresenting the Imperial Knights in teams, as always. Xenos, there's 4 Necrons, 7 Orcs, 10 Tau. That's interesting.
That's
A
this.
lot.
You got to talk about the tables. The tables will be one of the players. Might as well be the 6th player on every team because there will be degrees of terrain intensity on these tables. One being dense, going all the way down to very light, and that's going to factor into some of these army list choices.
Right, and then of course 6 Votans, same theory with them too. Highbind, there's 2 Tyrians and 2 Gs. They're called. Come on, guys. Like this is
No
this is the
respect.
most broken GSC has been in years, and y'all are sleeping on it.
It's a difficult army to assemble and play.
It really is. It
Yeah,
really is.
That's right. That's right. Say that again, Paul. It's difficult to assemble and play. It's not easy.
A quick anecdote is that when G Sealer cults were like super hot, like a few years ago, when we had to almost conscript the entire team plus like brother teams to just, how do we get all these jackals?
I've literally, the last 3 tournaments I've gone to, lent out 3 full armies of GSC for people to play while I was playing in that event. So I guess it's just you need more GSC cult players in your area. Maybe that's what it is. So you can do more Warhammer.
So let's talk about the close. We actually do have, of the 24 teams, 12 Astra Militarum that spike in there with 10 Tau, and then what's the next one? World Eaters?
Yeah.
World Eaters,
Tau, World Eaters, and then Demons.
But the Eldari, there's 1 Drukhari, 3 Harlequins, 5 Ursiri, and 3 Yunari. So there's not many Eldari in the team, which is a little surprising. They're more of a singles list, I guess. Maybe not as team focused because we have a lot of other options for good skewing teams list.
It's so I will say though, after like paying attention to, because we might as well be doing one team's event an episode for the last kind of 6 months of another show that we did some time ago. But it wasn't how close we were getting to 100% of teams. It's how close we were getting to 50% was the indicator.
Yeah.
When we got to about 50% of the teams taking a single list, that list is busted, or that faction is busted for team events. I think, like you guys said, the interesting one is not Guard. The interesting one is freaking Tau.
Yeah.
People still considering Tau to be busted at that close enough level to take almost 50%.
Yeah, look, this is in the northeastern part of the United States. There's actually some really great Tau players up there, and actually, I'm surprised that we aren't seeing more Eldari in this this faction list cut out too because of that same reason. But talking about it, going back to the point about the terrain, there are going to be some boards that are just shooting galleries, and a Tau, getting that and. You don't always necessarily pick the light terrain table last. Sometimes in the way you put out lists. So the way this works is players will nominate a list to put forward for the opposing captain to match lists against. The list composition of what your opponents have, what you have, how you want to choose the table, all factor into what you decide to put forward. And so it's very possible you put out a shooting list, or a night list or something kind of early in the round in order to give them a very favorable table. So you're trying to create lopsided engagements that benefit yourself. And
exactly
that's what both players are trying to do. And so it's not as easy as it's described, but that is the psychology of how you approach the putouts.
Also, a good one to note, and very well pointed out, Paul. A good thing to note is the World Eaters as well. 10 World Eaters. Usually you'll see World Eaters and things like Orcs, things like those, ooh, I go first, you're in trouble kind of lists. And it's always interesting to see the polarity of those, because another one of those is Blood Angels. Those, hey, I just went first, ooh, I think you're screwed kind of interactive ones. And yeah, the World Eaters and the Orcs seem to be the go-tos now, with Blood Angels definitely dropping off. But let us jump in and talk about two of our top teams in attendance, guys, because this is, as you'll get used to watching more and more of our show, when we do a team event, instead of doing 3, we do 2, because it's a lot more to unpack, because each one of these 2 teams is 5 lists. The first of which is Pro Tabletop. Their 5-pack consists of a Suriani, Hail of Doom plus Light Harlequins. It's got 25 Dire Avengers, a large unit of Wind Riders, and then a bunch of MSU good stuff. So I think it's like 3 Vipers and then some troop in boats.
Pew-pew.
Then we have a Undivided Demons list, 4 Greater Demons, and I say 4 Greater Demons, but it's actually 3 plus Bellicor, and which 3? The 3 good ones, not the Great Unclean one.
Oh, poor guy.
It's a shame. He's just too big, too slow. Then it's all the good medium demons. So it's fiends, hounds, and flamers for the rest. He's got a top shelf Space Wolves successor, Born Heroes Whirlwinds of Rage list. Whirlwinds of Rage list, sorry. Usual MSU mix of like Wolfguard, Skyclaw, stuff like that. Min-maxed to the 9s. Then it also 2 units of Wolfen and a 10 brick of Desolator Marines, which I am a big fan of in Space Wolves. They're not as good as in some other configurations, but I like them in Space Wolves quite a lot, because they create that, oh, if you want to stay still and not let me use the melter guns, well, I'm just going to use Desolator Marines on you instead. We then have Born Soldier, Astra Militarum list, pretty much what you'd expect. 30 Kassakin, 9 Armored Sentinels, and 3 Scout Sentinels, and then just the usual suspects, couple of Russes and some bits and pieces. And then lastly, World Eaters, the usual Lord Avocado build, which is the standard MSU World Eater goodness with 2
bunch
Demon
of 8-bound,
Princes.
bunch of 6-person units, 8 bounds.
Yep. Bunch of 8-bound, bunch of Exalted 8-bound, Rhinos, Khorne, Berserkers, and then 2 Demon Princes as well. And it's interesting. So this is Mark Perry playing those World Eater list, and I know a little bit about it. I've watched him play that list recently, and he likes having more points in the characters, because they're just having anything that can't be shot for World Eaters makes them into like a pseudo wound gated model, because no one is charging you when you're playing World Eaters. Yeah.
Mhm.
Very rarely are people charging you, unless it's like very strategic trades they're able to accomplish. So when they can only shoot and psychic you, and they have to go through, a couple of layers of chaff, those guys might as well be wound gated. And so he likes having them because it lets him have a late game, like late game that he tries to get the Demon Princess to take over. And I've seen them do it.
That player is very capable of making things happen and lining up, charges, and not afraid to play gutsy too. And that's not what you want. You don't want somebody like not afraid to try to roll that 9 on you, on the charge, and then occasionally they sink it.
Yeah, for sure. I've actually seen this 2 Demon Prince build a little bit more with the World Eaters. I really like it. I think that it adds a lot to the World Eater list too. I still like having the Armigers in there just because of the mirror match, but 2 Demon Princes, I like it.
Yeah, I like it as well. And the Armigers was the only thing that I expected to see in more World Eaters lists, because I think it really shores up one of their main issues. They find themselves just playing against Harlequins, and you're like, sorry, bruh.
Yeah, but
cool.
none of them do it. I've been to a bunch of events, and like I have 1 out of the 20 World Eater players that are 20 is using them. That's it.
Because they're committing.
Fair.
They're committing to the Khorne, what Khorne wants.
Yeah. They just exactly right. As this 5-pack goes, it's actually not that clear who the put-up is going to be, because it could be the Asuriani, it could also be the Astra Militarum.
No, they've gone with the I'm gonna take all comers, like 5 lists to take all comers, which is a very valid thing, especially in the environment that we're in right now. That is not always the case, but we're in kind of a place where you can take some strong players with some strong list and do well.
Yep, for sure.
I totally think the only, like you said, Paul, to your effect, the only list here that I think has made any real concessions for being a teams, you could see all of these in a singles environment. 4 Greater Demons might be the only thing that I think sitting askew as like, let's push an agenda with this build. Everything else, you could see it at any major you go to around the world. All right, jumping into our second.
We got.
This is Dumpster Fire.
Love the name.
I love it. Adore it. Their first list is Yanari. It's got 2 big unit of troop, and then a bunch of MSU Asuryani melee, that being multiple squads of Banshees, and then some Scorps and some other bits and pieces, but with 2 Night Spinners, which is an interesting distinction because you could just see those same points in D cannons, but it's gone for the extra range in the spinners. It's got a
Can't hide
Zinch.
from them either, really.
It's right. It's right. Much better range. Much better in against mortars is the thing that I want to point out. Demons of Zinch is up next. So this is mono Demons of Zinch, 10 pink horrors, 2 demon princes, 3 big units of flamers, a unit of 6 and a unit of 3 screamers, and then 3 chariots, which is usually see 1 or 2 chariots at most, but having a full 3 is
And you
actually
haven't
quite
seen that many flamers in a little while either.
yeah, outside of pure Zinch, you really don't see that many flamers, but this is like 6, a 5, and a 4, so pretty up there. World Eaters, just a standard MSU World Eaters list. We've got a Black Templars thickness build, so this is a full 20 unit of Crusaders, and then 2x10 Sword Brethren, and then a couple of Assault Marines, and a couple of other bits and pieces, but it is a very thick, a lot of wounds, a lot of power armor wounds, a lot of invulned
I like
wounds.
those impulsors too, because
Mm,
sometimes the impulsors just don't die. It's like rhinos, sometimes it's
yep,
like you just frustrate your opponent. Like how many weapons do I have to dedicate to this dumb rhino? You know,
yep,
like,
spot on,
I
spot
and
on.
with
like
the
this build
impulsor,
too.
oh, go ahead, Dustin.
No, I just feel like this is actually the budget Dark Angel build now. Not
It
budget as
is,
in a
dude.
bad thing. Is it budget is it that they just don't cost as much and they're almost as
Dude,
durable.
exactly what I was about to say. Because you can give a 5 up invuln to one of these units, most likely it's going to be the Crusader brick. And then that plus Bambi Trades Human plus a 5 up invulnerable save, 5 up Feel No Pain, 4 up invulnerable save once per game. You can emulate some of that. You can stress people's efficiencies a
Yep.
lot with these units. So this is the Deathwing Light, I believe.
Yeah.
And you get a random deny every now and then.
Yeah, you get a 4 up.
Because why not?
Well, he's got he's got Gromaldus who has a deny and a 4 up deny in addition. But the last list for this is Votan, Links of Votan. It is a Urani Serta Regulates with 2 Hecatons, a big unit of Hearthguard, and 2 units of Thunderkin, and then just the usual suspects, a couple of small units of bikes, etc., etc. Those Hecatons are toughness 9, boys.
Is that what the Urani does? I don't
Yep.
remember what that
It's
faction
the
does.
+1 toughness across the board. So
Yeesh.
very thick.
So there were some durability builds with those two.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, so they got 3 durability builds if you count the Zinch Demons, depending on the matchup.
Well, I guess
They're
that's
playing
So
for the light terrain with those Votan
mm,
right there too. That is like, don't care
yeah,
if you shoot me, you go first or second,
yep,
you're gonna have a rough time.
exactly right. So the World Eaters can play against everything, but mostly they want a heavy table to be safe from shooting. The Zinch players can play on anything as long as it's a shooting matchup. They get to use all their tools. The Yanari is essentially wanting a denser table as well because it's pretty much MSU melee, very similar to the World Eaters, but with a couple of tools to help it against Marines and against a mortar indirect, with the Night Spinners actually being good counterplay there. And then you have thickness in the Templars and thickness in the Votan. I do like the Votan into other shooting matchups because Tau actually struggle with the toughness 9 outside railguns, and in addition, because all their plasmas, all their ions only go to strength 8. And in addition, some guard armies really struggle with it as well.
Here is instead of necessarily picking a team, because we've only gone over 2 of the teams. There are 24
Mm.
there. There's a lot that goes into one of these team events. What we kind of taken to doing is now predicting what faction will get the highest battle points over the course of the weekend. And
Yep.
this is more difficult than you think. It's not always the highest scoring team
Mm.
that has the player that gets the highest scoring battle point score,
Mm-hmm.
because of the way the rounds and the teams function throughout the thing. So I'll open that up. Dustin, what do you think is going to be the highest scoring faction over the course of the weekend?
World Eaters.
Good call. Yeah, I was
No
going to
hesitation.
pick World Eaters. Yeah, I was going to pick World Eaters. I will not now. I will pick Guard, and I feel worse about my choice.
Guards. I'm going to say orcs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Orcs
I
are
think that's a
good
good
choice
call as
too.
well. All right,
This is where we normally take a break for a sponsor, but we're working on that. So
we don't have any yet.
We don't
If you
have
would
any.
like to be, if you would like to be, hey, this was your billboard opportunity.
That's right.
this is where it'd be like, hey, check these folks out. These fine folks doing that, and here's the link to get that or whatever. This is where we
With
do that. We
that
also
much and more enthusiasm.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
But we will have a Patreon link going live soon, and we'll also be happy to talk about sponsors that do want to come be a part of this show. And this is where we talk about the hype and enthusiasm. We have one more event to cover. Then after that, we've got a palate cleanser where we talk about all this crunchy meta stuff, what's in, what's out, how to beat that, what's toughness this, and all this other kind of stuff. And then at the very end of the show, we just chill out, have a good time with a segment we call the Fuego Rapido. And I don't know what's coming up. I'm kind of looking forward to getting to it. But before we do, we got to talk about the next event.
Last one, boys.
This is the Mayhem Grand Tournament in Mabane, North Carolina, also in the USA. That's
Good note. Good note.
117 players, 5 rounds. Dustin, what are we going to see there?
For the Imperial Superfaction, there's 1 Sisters of Battle, 7 Custodes, 1 AdMech, 5 Astra Militarum, 3 Grey Knights, 2 Imperial Knights, Space Marines. There's 8 Dark Angels. Did they not get the memo, or do they have new juice? I love it.
Maybe they're not playing with it. Maybe they're all going
Ravenwing.
Ravenwing. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Maybe
Let's go.
There's like 47 assault cannons between those lists.
3 Space Wolves, 2 Blood Angels, 7 Ultramarines. How many of those have Desolator squads? 1 Salamander, 4 Black Templar, 1 Imperial Fist, and 6 Iron Hands. Chaos, there's 4 Chaos Space Marines, 3 T-Suns, 5 Death Guard, 11 World Eaters, 5 Demons, and 5 Renegade Knights. Xenos, there's 4 Necrons, 4 Orcs, 6 Tau, and 5 Votan. Hive Mind, there's 2 Tyranids, 4 Gene Stealer called That's Better. Eldari, there's 2 Drukhari, 1 Harlequin, 1 Asuryani, and 1 Ynnari, meaning the faction podium is World Eaters topping it off with 11. Dark Angels still keeping on that podium with 8. And then in third is Custodes and Ultramarines tied with 7 each.
Man, World Eaters? World Eaters at 11?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're popping off this week. I don't know what's going on, but people are just
good.
like, yo, let's do it. We've
like
waited long enough
to deal with in a lot of these. And depending where this is the States, are they using like Games Workshop terrain? Because if they are, they're very good on Games Workshop.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the play in that particular area. Although North Carolina is very close to Georgia.
Yeah,
it's true. I've just been having a look at some of these lists, boys, just to see what was going on. And of course, I did a little bit of this before, but couldn't get a good pick of it. There are so many Terminators still taken in these 8 Deathwing lists that I have to assume the Dallas slate is not in effect here.
Yeah, okay. So they didn't get the memo.
That's fine. Something like that. Maybe they voted and they chose not to.
Because people that's fine. Like
maybe they just said, "Look,
the lists were already submitted."
We're running this to the edge.
Yeah, absolutely. If I can run this one more time, I'm doing it. Absolutely.
Credit to the 1 Sisters of Battle player who came out across these 3 events, by the way.
Yeah.
0 for the team event and 0 in Australia for the Australian event. Wow, like what a... I want to say like a fade to beige. Like their play pattern, their play style hasn't changed in like 2 years. It's just like take your generic Bloody Rose good stuff list, and at some point people are going to get bored and stop playing them, and that's just the reality for them. Could say the same for Death Guard as well. Just the reality, their play style hasn't changed in close to 3 years for Death Guard, and people just get bored and move to other stuff.
Yeah,
could be.
That makes sense. There is a single AdMech player at every single one of these events too.
I know. It's just so strange to me. The little engine that could, keep plugging away.
What are we going to see there list-wise?
All right, jumping in. So that faction podium was actually quite interesting, Dustin. Do you want to speak to that for a sec?
The faction podium being Worldlies at the top, and then Dark Angels in second doesn't surprise me at all when it's the old dinosaur.
It's the last one.
Yeah. Custodes doesn't surprise me either. Ultramarines started to come out with the Desolator squads. Those guys they got the Desolator packs. They got the built and painted.
We might unpack that at some point. Who does Desolation Marines the best, and what you need to know. There's 3 contenders. It's Ultras, Dark Angels, or it's Iron Hands, and they all do something a little bit different.
True.
So it is quite spicy. But anyway, top players in attendance. First one, Roman Malakazai. Do not care if I butchered that, Roman. I do not care if I butchered that.
We do care. We're not attempting to butcher anyone's name.
He should have a more reasonable surname. He should have a more reasonable surname. He should know people like me who are inelegant and uneloquent.
Spell it phonetically on BCP.
Clumsy faces. Is what
he's playing the Disciples of Bellicor Army of Renown, boys, with a super heavy auxiliary of War Dogs. This is a very interesting list, and it's a little bit out of left field. It's a little bit new to the meta because we haven't seen many Disciples of Be'lakor. But I will let you know this gentleman won an RTT last weekend in prep for this event using this same list, and he is considered one of the top players in attendance by some local guns. He's
I
got
like the
elites.
carnivores.
I like him as well. He's got elites as his Arcs of Omen detachment. Be'lakor, of course, a Fluxmaster, a Sloppy Bile Piper, Transweaver, 10 Bloodless, 10 Demonettes, 3 Nurglings, 3 Beasts, 3 Fiends, 5 and 3 Flamers, 5 Fleshhounds, and then 3 War Dog Carnivores. So not the shooting variant. He doesn't care about shooting. Never heard of shooting. He's got 2 units of Flamers. That's it. Everything else is either a stubber
It's
or it's going to
coincidentally
punch you.
shoot. It is.
Yeah, exactly right. This list is really interesting. Do you guys know how the Disciples of Be'lakor Army Renowned army construction works?
Not anymore. I haven't looked
Yeah,
at it since the revamp.
been a bit.
It's real wonky, but suffice to say, you have to offset every god. Every god has to be equally represented. So for every unit of Zinch, you have to have a Nurgle, a Khorne, a Slanesh. So you can only do essentially in blocks of 4 at a time. So hence we have a like look at the HQs. Fluxmaster, Sloppy Barpa, Transweaver. To offset that, he had to take the Nurglings and the Beasts to offset the fact that he didn't take.
Not bad
Sorry,
choices.
No, he took
We saw
Barpa.
Nurglings pop up in
Yeah.
Morsolli's list for which I thought was actually an interesting choice because it's not what we've seen before. And you don't always just see one unit of Nurglings.
Mm-hmm. I think 3 Nurglings is good. You can actually make them obsec in Disciples of Be'lakor where you can't anywhere else. So I think that's one of the best places to find Nurglings. One of the best things in Disciples of Be'lakor is actually the Beasts of Nurgle, boys. So Beasts of Nurgle have this really cool rule where a 6 to hit is 2 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends. Disciples of Be'lakor is the only place you can give them full rerolls to hit. And so they can just come out and just do like 12 freaking mortal wounds to you at any one point. And they're extremely hard to remove.
Yeah, I was
for a lot
gonna
of
say
different reasons.
I don't know if anybody has like played against Beasts of Nurgle at all recently, but they are a nightmare to get rid of. They are
Frustration.
so
I
annoying.
love it. A unit has not had its day yet.
Well, consider what we said about the Armored Sentinel. So Armored Sentinel has 7 wounds. So does a Beast of Nurgle. What happens is if you get an Armored Sentinel down to 1 wound at the start of your next turn, it's still at 1 wound. You get a Beast of Nurgle down to 1 wound. The next time you go to kill that guy, he's back at 7.
Yeah,
That's where it's crazy. That's where it's nuts.
yeah. Good on the player. If the player can figure out how to make that work, that's awesome because that unit is underutilized and needs to find the right shell to go around it. And once it does it, they will be the all stars.
Boys, in this list, why do you think the Carnivores? What are the Carnivores offering here over the Stalkers or the Huntsmans even?
Carnivores are
full melee.
Full,
yeah, it puts the pressure. I assume they're. Do they get the benefits of Iconoclast as an ally?
I believe they either get that or the house. They get one or the other. I can't remember which one they get.
I think they get.
Well,
the
if
house,
they're infernal, then you get occasionally. If you can make them go burn on the chart and go 17 inches, I mean, you're asking your opponents to answer them, and if they can't, then it's bad news. Or if they misdeploy or something, or you say you got a scout sentinel problem or whatever, Carnivores will solve it.
That's exactly right. They will munch straight through that stuff. And also, they draw a lot of attention off the medium beasties and Be'lakor as well. I do like that about them. Three war dogs, Carnivores yeeting at you. Ain't got much time to make sure Bellacor's out of the way.
I love it. I love that style of play. By the way, as you know, I'm big Carnivore supporter over here.
Carnivore Stan, as we like to call it, behind closed doors. Michael Walsh is up next. This one, Dustin, I leave to you, mate. This is Rusted Claw GSC. Give us the unpack.
Sure. So it's got a Magus, a Patriarch, a Primus, 3x5 Acolytes, 3x20 Neophytes, Calibmorph Nexos, Reductus Saboteur, Sanctus, 8 Pure Strains, 2x3 Jackals, 3 Rock Grinders, and 2 Goliath Trucks. This is the new. Let's be honest. We all know who is making this popular.
You might have to hit next on the slide as well, because I think we're still looking at Roman's.
Yeah.
List.
He got so
into it.
I don't need to press next. I click a mouse button. Come on, calm down.
It's fair.
There it is. Now you can see it if you're live with us too, or watch this in review.
So fundamentally, this is less neophyte, less jackal, more character and more transport. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got more transport. It's got some tricks in there that you are not going to be used to. It doesn't have the ignoring modifiers and stuff, but it doesn't need it as much because it has the
Hmm.
built-in psychic power to give something -1 AP for everything that shoots into one unit. It has a patriarch. I'm assuming he has all the guns and the bells and whistles on the patriarch, so he's going to be ignoring anything when he moves. He's basically a troop master now,
Yep.
and he's probably going to have exploding sixes. So it's one of those things. The patriarch is there now because he can ignore models and terrain when he moves. You cannot spread out with your characters behind your guys anymore against GSC, which against GSC you want to spread out. Patriarch's like, thank you for giving me this delicious character in here. I will eat that and then go touch something else because that's what I do.
Hmm.
And it just it makes the matchup a lot different. Like, even that one little thing. Plus, the jackals in Rusted Claw, they have the throw a demo charge in movement phase, which I
Yep.
don't know if a lot of people know this. You don't need line of sight to do that.
Hmm.
So now you have a demo charge that you just move, and
Oh,
the thing behind the
wow.
wall, yeah, we just demo charged it. It's fine. Don't worry
Yep.
about it.
Blew it the hell. It's really good. So of course you mentioned this is pretty much the progenitor the progenitor of all GSC goodness is Eric Lathuris at the moment. Although you were playing a very similar thing already, Dustin. But
I was
I
playing
waited.
identical, believe it or
Yeah.
not.
I
And we
I
have never
literally
spoken. Eric and I have never actually spoken.
I legitimately waited until I saw this list in the wild before I drew attention to it. Because with Eric's list, you never quite know if there's something that other people are going to be able to
Yeah.
pull off or do well with. Especially like he was famous for making the gaunt carpet work.
Yep.
No one else got close to winning an event with a gaunt carpet, apart from I think Inez got close once or twice.
Hmm.
But Eric went on a 9-month unbeaten streak with that list, and so I'm always a little
Impressive.
cautious when Eric spawns a new brood.
Of course.
I wait and see if it actually takes root in the wild before I draw attention to it, because I don't
There
want
are
to hype
some
it up
lists
if it's
that
a
you see
yeah.
that only certain players can actually,
Correct.
Yes,
they all the
absolutely.
ins and outs. They got the heart
Mm.
to pull it off.
Now I will say
But
this
maybe
list style is a bit harder than the previous meta list of the GSC,
Yeah.
but it is better in the meta, and it
Yeah.
dummies the mirror match. Dummies the
Absolutely
mirror match.
phenomenal into the mirror. But yeah, it doesn't have that stat check like effect that all the jackals have, especially with the 80
Yeah,
neos
but
and the
they
30
all have
jackals.
a mini armor contempt in the entire army.
Yes. All right, jumping into the last list we'll be coming on today's episode with 7 Ultramarines in the field. I could not not have the king of the Ultra Smurfs,
hey,
Thomas Bird.
sometimes Ultramarines are a crowd favorite.
That's
They're
right,
on every
mate.
book,
That's
in
right.
every poster, in every store.
So he's playing Ultras, of course. He's got heavy support as his Arcs of Omen detachment. Chaplain Cassius and Tigerius, so 2 of the named characters. And of course, he's got Gilliman at the end if you read ahead. 2x5 Infiltrators, which I think are ubiquitous in every single Space Marine list at the moment. A Company Champion and a Promoth Apothecary. 3 units of 2 Victrix Honor Guard. I think quietly one of the best units in a Space Marine army.
Really?
And good lord, there are a lot
Is
of
that
good units in the Space
is
Marine
that to
army.
take wounds off of other things? Like what?
Dude, they are 55 points and have a 3-up invulnerable save and can be transhumaned. They are just insanely good for the points. It's essentially why. I can't remember if they're 2 or 3 wounds each though. But yeah, 2-up armor, 3+ invulnerable save. They got a regular power sword, but they're not there to do that. They're there to get in the way and be an annoying thing for you to have to remove on an objective, and just take way too much for you to get through. They're
Seems
really
reasonable.
good. Yeah, really good. A unit of 8 and a unit of 5 Desolation Marines, so the new hotness, and of course you're taking Ultramarines, like that's what they're here for. 5 Eradicators, 5 Hellblast, and Robbie Bobby G himself.
I like that loadout.
Yeah,
It's a Thomas Bird list. It's like a one of everything except if it's broken for the points, and then a bunch of weird ass characters that no one else would take.
I could not tell you what Cassius does right now.
Not a clue. Not a clue.
I mean, I assume he
Chaplain,
comes with the chaplain stuff, and I think he's actually tougher. Like he's like toughness 6 or something. Like I think I'm summoning some vestigial memories of looking at Cassius in the past or whatever.
Yeah. His toughness 5 with 4 wounds. 3
That's it. One extra
attacks.
toughness. Yeah.
Yeah. Is he a super? He is a Master of Sanctity, so he knows litanies. Recites 2 litanies.
And that's good. They've got a shooting litany. I'm sure he's packed. Is he get?
Yeah, well, I'm assuming that's what the big unit of Desolation Marines get. He hangs with
Yeah.
them, comes forward and gives your army full rerolls to hit when it needs to. But apart from that, just hangs out, pumps up the big unit of Desolation Marines with +1 hit, +1 wound, whichever.
Tigerius is no slouch.
No, he ain't no slouch. Yeah, I'm a fan.
That's pretty good.
6 model.
We're doing a crash course on Ultra Marines characters right now. Look, if you're listening after the
Yeah, no,
fact,
never
name
mind.
as many as you can in the car of
There's like 7 more, man. There's legit
so-
like 7 more.
of the characters and their signature abilities.
Yes, you need to know both. Can't just name the character.
All
Put
right.
those in the comments, please. We need the engagement. We're a very young channel at this point.
Yes,
Yes,
for
yes,
sure.
slap them in. All right, so that is that event, boys. What do we make of it?
Well, you look, we've got to pick a winner. I think this is going to be great. North Carolina this is in a very competitive area. Lots of mature players in that scene.
Mm.
I'm going with Mike Walsh. Mike and I have teamed together in the past. I've known him for a long time. I know he's been in the trenches, playing lists, playing in lots of events. I think he's got it. This is his backyard as well.
So you're going for the GSC? Nice.
All right. I will.
Wait, what's your pick?
Gotta mix it up then. Gotta mix it up. Now
Dusty?
that I'm looking at this, I am looking at. I feel I'm feeling some Master Militarum here.
Guard, fair enough. Dustin's gone for guard. I'm going with Roman and his weird ass surname
Nice.
and his army's renowned.
That's
So I'm
Look-
going. I guess it's demons, but I'm going to put disciples of Bellicor in there just to make sure I remember.
specifically, you want that player with that army.
I do.
That's
I do.
good.
I
That's good.
doubt
That's
there's
good.
another disciples of Bellicor in attendance. Firstly, so
Then I'm
that's fair.
definitely
But I like his list. I like that it's off meta, and I'm hoping he's called it right because I'm going to back him.
We are almost at the end of the show, but we're not quite there yet. This is the palate cleanser. Now we go to a segment we call the Fuego Rapido. The meaning is lost in antiquity. No one can tell you what it means. No one can tell you what it is. But it is a segment where we give ourselves a series of topics, or friends of the show production gives us a series of topics, and we also start a clock. We give ourselves 2 minutes to give hot takes, maybe some rapid fire answers for our responses to these topics. Once that clock is stopped, we abandon the topic right where we are, no matter where we left it, never to return to it again. Unless it's funny or unless someone suggested that we, that we do it. There's a lot of rules, and at the same time, not a lot of rules to
That's
this
right.
this segment.
It's all the rules and no rules. This is how we do this. Okay, so we have.
Sometimes there's a theme.
There's a kind of a theme this time because it's data
Data
slate time.
slate, yeah,
And 10th
yeah,
coming.
that's-
So. All right. First up, we have. Do you think anything was overlooked in the data slate?
Desolation Marines, 150% overlooked.
Ooh.
How were they overlooked?
They need to be destroyed from the game.
Destroyed.
Scoured. Actually, just go to that data slate and remove anything that has indirect fire. Make it all direct fire.
Indirect fire is it's bad.
It's bad for the game, man. Like things. I'm okay with stuff like mortars that literally would have no purpose other than that, as long as they're pointed correctly. But Space Marines, and this is what they've pointed out in 10th edition, they really struggle to take into account how wonky, crazy, and different all the Space Marine chapters are. So, for the sake of them trying to balance Desolation Marines this close to an end of an edition, stuff it. Just remove indirect fire. We'll move on. We'll catch them on the other side in 10th edition.
I just think the Space Marines got tired of seeing Dark Reapers across the table for the last 30-something years.
Fine, let's make some.
Like, you know what? Fine. Call, get on that. Give us some Dark
Show
Reaper
you.
stuff. Yeah.
Plus, the models suck. But yeah.
Well, that doesn't help
Yeah.
either. I think the banner in the guard thing should have lost
Finial.
aura.
It should have been the other. It kept the bit that keep
they fixed the
reason
wrong
to
part of
take it.
Yeah.
The reason, yeah. If it just ignored hit mods, that's cool. It's essentially just an aura +1 to hit when they're playing on a forest table. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it's still ignoring FNP and wound gates
Yeah.
is what you took it for anyway.
Yeah,
So
that's not okay.
doesn't matter.
But again, I would actually be okay with the entire thing, all of it being there, if it was just pick one core model, one core unit.
Yeah.
The fact
one
that
core
it's
unit,
an
be
aura
fine.
is the problem. I hate
It's
that.
it's a little insulting.
It's a little.
We only got 19 seconds
But-
left.
But the only issue with that, Dustin, is that if you could do it like that, you would just pick the Kassakin do the Barbican's key, and then they kill everything in the opponent's army for 100 points because they ignore all wound mods and hit mods
They do that
and
anyway.
everything. Yeah, but they don't. You have to keep it within 6 inches of the squad is when they deep strike down. But yeah,
Yeah.
That's it.
There you go.
Y'all debated one of my answers, but I can't tell you what it was because the time's up.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All right, next up, biggest loser and winner from the latest data slate.
This
sorry,
I
boys,
think
go
that
first.
it's the Dark Angels. You
The
can't
biggest loser?
deny
Yeah,
that they
You know what?
definitely.
they got hurt.
I say they're the biggest winners because they
Ooh,
get to be interesting again.
that's
They get
okay.
to
You
be
know what?
exciting.
Okay. I
They're
can.
unshackled from the boring trash meta that they felt like they had to play. You could all make the right choice, guys, and now you've been shown what the right
Now
choice is.
but yeah, but now
Congratulations.
they're all gonna go off of Dark Angels. They're gonna sell their Terminators. They're gonna go buy some World Eaters, and they're gonna play
As
World Eaters for the next 2 months.
as a Dark Angels main, I don't think we've lost anything in that exchange.
You
See you
haven't.
later. Never
Oh
heard
yeah,
of you. We
okay,
didn't
okay,
watch us here
okay.
anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I can get behind that.
All
And
you
then what
fair
our
weather.
biggest winners is that the Gene Stealer cults. I mean, is it?
Uh,
Hey,
biggest winner in terms of not getting touched enough. Like the Brood Swarm got hit pretty hard, but they didn't need that. Like
Yeah,
if they
behind the lines.
they don't need those points if they're killing you anyway. Like it's not. And besides the changes to their list that's happening now, we're not even using Brood Swarm as much. Go on.
I argue Space Wolves are the biggest backhanded winner. Because they struggled into the two Space Marine armies that did get hit. Iron Hands and
True.
Deathwing both got hit. They didn't get touched at all. In fact, the secondary Codex Warfare got better for them.
That's true.
Legitimately got better for them. They
That's
have
true.
Long Fangs and Desolation Marines to get you the 5 points on turn 1 or turn 2. You got all the stupid multi-melters and melter guns, combi melters, all that crap to get you tacticals, and then you're just going to punch people in the face with your free Thunder Hammers for the melee section. They're actually better at that now than everyone else, and they already had probably the better secondary game across the board.
Right.
So I argue they're the biggest backhanded winner.
Okay. World Eaters are up there too for the backhanded winners. So
Oh yeah, actually that's a big one too. That's a
they
huge
didn't
one.
get touched.
Mm.
They're pretty.
With that.
They're pretty okay. You know.
That helps when your biggest predators get kind of knocked down a bit and you get to get in there.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Next up, name an old
Ooh.
school rule or interaction you'd like to see return in 10th.
Oh,
Paul?
falling off of roofs. No,
What?
no.
Oh.
Yeah, if you had to jump down off of a building
Yeah.
or whatever. The Red Grail, which was a Blood Angel relic that allowed you to consolidate 2d6 inches.
Cool.
Interesting.
I
Interesting.
like this.
Probably
I
never
like
going to
this a lot.
happen, but you know, if you put it out there, well, what I would like, that's what I would like.
Sure. Okay.
Dustin, any thoughts?
For me, one of the I don't know why I like this so much, but I loved when vehicles would get wrecked and had to stay on the table as terrain. I thought
Oh,
that was
yeah.
awesome. I
Yeah,
loved
boy.
I thought that
big
was one
fan.
of
Yeah,
the
to
best
put a
things in the
crater
game.
there.
Yeah, I loved that. That was amazing. I still have all my little tea lights with the cotton all over it, so put it when it's on fire so you know it's wrecked. Like, that was awesome. I loved that interaction. I miss it a lot.
That's cool. What about like weapon destroyed? That kind of stuff.
Dude,
Yeah.
that was my one. That was
Yeah.
what I was
Oh,
gonna
sorry, I did not mean to swoop in there.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I would like it if you have a degrading profile that you don't lose ballistic skill, you don't lose like attacks or anything like that. You lose movement and you lose weapons.
Yes.
Like if you are
Yes.
a tank, why the hell does the tank lose attacks? As long as it can
Yes.
move, it's got the same amount of attacks. They're the only
That's how
attacks.
fast it's going to run
It's
into
hitting
you.
you.
It's the equivalent. It's not.
So,
Although
alright.
I do like to envision that they're actually when the rhinos going by you, the driver's just hitting you with the door. He's just opening the door really fast on you. You know, it's like,
So what the disbelief is, you have like an orc battle wagon that essentially is just guns on wheels, and it has one wound left, and you're telling me that every gun is still on
And
the
working.
wheels. They're all still hanging in there working. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. Like
That's-
you look at a repulsor who actually is just like a brick with guns on it, and you're saying when it's got one wound left, it still has like the 19 guns intact, still function. So
Yeah,
I would
so
like
what
to
do
see
you
some
want? Like
weapon destroyed.
I like
a
that.
bloodthirster just gets sad and put his whip down.
No. This would be for vehicles exclusively.
Okay.
He's
Yeah,
not
vehicles
sad, but he's
exclusively.
kind of beat up
Monsters,
at that point, you know?
monsters 100% lose attacks. Like 100% monsters lose attacks.
Okay.
But for
I like
tanks and
that.
stuff, they should lose guns.
I'm down with this. You listening, GW? These are good. These are good suggestions. I like these. All right, next up. 10th is previewed that characters can join units again. Is this good, bad, or ugly?
200%
Heck
good.
yeah. I love the idea. Characters leading units and it's just awesome. I
Yeah.
will tell you that when you like say you had the Grey Knight ability, First the Fray was I think this was called First the Fray or First the Fight.
Yep.
Yep.
The
Yep.
ability,
Yep.
you come down and you stagger your charge, and he's supposed to gloriously get his troops into battle, and he fails his charge. The unit makes it,
The unit gets
of
hit,
course,
and he's like, "Go get him!"
to get
Yeah.
slaughtered by Arakabaraz or whatever his name was. It's the big Lord of Change demon. But it's like that was anticlimactic when that happened. I like the
Yeah.
idea of at least them having a shared fate is a little bit more
Yeah.
of a narrative experience to me.
Well, exactly right, because they go in, that unit goes in, and they don't have the character's buffs now, so they're not good enough to kill it. And then the character loses the squad's protection and just dies out of hand next turn.
Yeah.
It was such a feels bad. Like that interaction is exactly one of
On
the reasons I like this
Ceremonus.
go.
Yeah.
As long as GW can balance the buffs that these things
Yes.
give out, I think this is a phenomenally good thing. And it's obvious that they have learned that what they had done in 8th and 9th was just leading people just be like, well, I'm just gonna do aura management, min max my army, and then dice are irrelevant now. If I can see you, you're dead. Which is the biggest reason we've gotten to such excessive damage outputs in 40k at the moment. 7th edition was too much in the fact that units gave out too many buffs for joining, like for being there.
Or
Like you
just
have,
having a bunch of lookout Sarah with 2+ armor saves, and it's very
Yes.
unlikely
Yeah.
you
Two
roll
up and
Yeah,
roll
a
over
series of.
bones.
exactly,
That
my
was
man.
ridiculous.
It's
Now, you
spot on.
got to remember too, like everybody that's listening to this, you only started playing like 8th or 9th edition. Like for us veterans or legacy players that have been playing for a long time, this characters wandering off on their own is completely foreign to us. Like this is something we had to
Absolutely.
adjust to for the last couple of years, and I, for one, have hated it. I've
Of the
hated it.
last of the 30 years or so of the game, only in the last 6 have
Yeah.
characters not joined units.
Yeah.
Just to
Yes.
put it in perspective for
There we go.
people.
Exactly. Like,
Time's up.
It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like it. All right, the last and final question for today. This should be the last
great one.
state of the game for the 9th. Rank this edition in comparison to the others.
So you're saying that the way the game is right now, post data slate, is what we're going to see until 10th edition arrives. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably my assumption. As for how good this is, I'll take a. Paul, you want to jump in? I'm going to take a minute to muse.
Yeah, so I mean, I will say that I really enjoyed 3.5, edition of the game. I really did. That's a lot, showing a little bit my age, but as far as like, because the rules were pretty tight, like the way the codexes came out, it was, let's just say, not as rapid fire as we get them today or whatever. So you kind of had
to say
to
the least.
go what you got. But the game was solid. I did enjoy. I'd probably say 9th edition is second or third.
Wow.
I've got it 4th in my personal rankings
Yeah.
as the 4th best, behind 5th, which I think was the primo golden age right
Me
now,
too.
and then 8th, 5th, 8th.
Yeah,
I
fifth
actually
was
have,
I think fifth is where I've got it kind of tied with. Yeah,
So this is where you guys are going to disagree with me. The first 2 years of 7th was better than all of 9th to me.
Yep. No, I agree with that.
Then I've got 9th
Like,
edition.
before
and then the
formations
rest.
started coming in.
Pre-formations, 7th edition was very good.
Yeah,
very
absolutely. It was amazing.
Good. But I do think 5th and 8th edition are my 1 and 2. And I think we could argue which one's better. To me, it was 5th edition. A lot of people might say 8th edition.
9th which one of the? There was like I really liked 9th, but there was one of the battlefield areas that just started going a little bit downhill for me. I know Arcs definitely was a low point for me in 9th, but
Yeah.
I can't remember which one it was. I think
this
Arcs
is
actually
tough
might
to
have been-
do. I will say it's tough to rank because I've really enjoyed the game
So-
through,
no, it's been
the
great, yeah,
entire
for
life.
sure.
Yeah,
I do believe you're thinking of Nakmund, which was
Yeah.
the Tyranids one, where
Yeah.
Tyranid was just like, are you playing bugs? Cool, don't rock up if you're not. Like,
That's the one.
yeah, it was rough.
and
That's
the
the
Jukari too. They got like 2 books, two
Correct.
like stack.
Correct.
That was
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly right. Fuego.
But I think
Hey.
5th is the consensus here.
First show on the new channel
did
in
it.
the books. To those that have showed up and hung out with us live, we sincerely appreciate it. Comments have been awesome. Please continue to interact with the show. Please subscribe to us on this channel and the podcast and everywhere. It's going to be soon. It's going to be wherever podcast you can get. Help us out by spreading the word. If you know somebody that did listen to us and wants this type of content, please let them know that this exists. Otherwise, we're going to have to just continue to pound the pavement here with shows like this. I had a great time talking. Adam, Dustin, this has been a blast.
Always an absolute pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you so much for helping us get this going as well, you two lovely gents. My absolute honor to be here.
Remember
Okay,
too,
Discord.
because we're actually doing this on our own Discord channel now, we're gonna be able to get guys to start suggesting the Fuegos ahead of time in our Discord channel.
Absolutely.
I'll put the link to our Discord in the chat right now for you, for your convenience. There you go. It's in there. Make sure you join up with us because once the Patreon gets set up, we'll have the different levels there.
Ooh.
We'll see what's going on with that.
Ooh.
And this
Ooh.
channel's going to do nothing but grow now. So join us in the growth.
There's going to be a lot of fun in that Discord and a lot of fun in that at that Patreon group. So I hope you see us there.
We will see y'all soon, everybody. See you next week.
See ya.